364 days. This Saturday night, October the 1st, marks 364 days. 1 day shy of a full year since the biggest win of my professional wrestling career to date. That was the night that I defeated Corey Havoc to win the NWS Heavyweight Championship. It was also the night where I began my nearly year-long rivalry with Steve Rampage Rogers. What I'm about to share with all of you is as real as it gets, so pay attention. Just about a year ago, I lived out a childhood dream that I've had ever since the first time I watched a professional wrestling match 14 years ago, when I won my first professional wrestling heavyweight championship. I was given the opportunity to be the face of a franchise, to take the proverbial ball and to run with it. The only problem was, I was given this opportunity way before I was ready. You see, it's a big difference between going into all of your matches believing that you're going to win, as I've always done, and being overconfident about it. And by being overconfident about it, I mean not putting in enough time to get better at what it is you do, and ensure that you will not only come away with a victory, but that even in a loss, you know that you trained harder and prepared more than your opponent, and that you can walk out of that ring with your head held high. After I won the NWS Championship, not only did I fall into the category of being overconfident, but I made a mistake that I promised myself that I would never make. I became complacent. Because I experienced so much success at such a young stage in my career, I developed the mindset that since I had already proven that I could be NWS champion, I didn't have to work nearly as hard to stay on top of the proverbial mountain as I had to make it there. And since I accomplished so much so fast, it made me better than anyone that any promotion I wrestled for put me in the ring against. On February the 14th, 2011, I was not better than my opponent, and Rampage Rogers defeated me for the NWS Championship, ending a 4-month reign that I believe would last forever, but that I didn't do enough to ensure that it ever had a chance to do so. Since then, I've worked my way back to becoming the #1 contender for the NWS Championship, and I've had many opportunities to win it back, but I failed to capitalize on any of them. For a long time, I couldn't understand why that was. But sometimes, it takes one really, really bad night in the ring to put everything into perspective. Last night, which was Wednesday, September the 28th, as of the present filming, the BWO ran a seminar that was run by a guy who spent a lot of the early part of his career wrestling for the BWO and making a name for himself all over the indie scene before he finally made it big with TNA. Those of you watching this and who watch Impact Wrestling may know him as Robbie E. To say that I put on the worst in-ring demonstration of my entire career last night would be a gross understatement. I made mistakes that I've never made in almost 3 years of being a professional wrestler, and that people who wrestled for 1/100th of the time that I have would never make. Willis, I am nowhere close to joking when I tell you that it was the only time in my career where I felt like I don't belong in a professional wrestling ring. One small interaction could change everything. By the end of the night, Robbie E. referred to me as Rockstar. Now, it may not mean much on the surface to an outsider, but showed me that through all the mistakes I made, I left enough of a good impression on Robbie E. by the end of the seminar that I stood out to him as Ray Mars, the Rockstar Revolution of professional wrestling. Something as small and seemingly meaningless as that made me realize that Ray Mars does, in fact, belong in the ring. It made me realize that success won't just come to me because I happen to be naturally gifted at what I do. That I always have to be working harder than anyone around me to ensure that I will be the best at all facets of professional wrestling, that people will remember who I am, and that I will mean something in this business. It's very fitting that all this happened just days before what is now the biggest match of my life. The match is taking place almost 1 year to the day after what was then the biggest match of my life, in the same venue for the same championship, against the guy who had a front row seat for my moment in the spotlight. What was supposed to be the biggest moment of my career, October the 2nd, 2010, turned out to be the beginning of a downward spiral that I'm still trying to recover from. Fitting that this Saturday, I get the opportunity to right the wrongs, win the NWS Championship back, and salvage a 2011 that has been filled with transitional BWO United States Championship reigns, a losing streak to Darius Carter, and the one thing I promised myself that I would avoid: mediocrity. To say that this is the most important match of my life would be another gross understatement. It's time to show the entire NWS community that, like any good rock star, Ray Mars is at his best when the spotlight is shining the brightest directly on him, and when the pressure to put on a show-stealing performance that everyone in attendance will remember forever is at its highest. And when I win that championship back this Saturday night, I still won't be satisfied. I won't be satisfied until I've proven once and for all that I am the true headliner of not only the NWS, but for every promotion that I wrestle for. And until I've made my second NWS Championship title reign everything that the first one was supposed to be, and more. I won't be satisfied until I prove that I am the Rockstar Revolution, and I believe every word of that, of the professional wrestling scene. And even then, I will strive to only keep getting better, to not settle for mediocrity, and to work harder than anybody for all the success that I hope to achieve. 3 seconds is all it takes to begin a career revival. And 3 seconds is all it takes to close the curtain once and for all on a year-long rivalry that has made me realize that it's time to step up in this business. It's time to stop talking. It's time to shred. Thank you, and good night.